Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Right on, writers, and welcome first-time viewers to the Books by Adrian author platform and our flagship show, Livestream Sunday. Welcome. This is season 5. It's gotten off to a stellar start so far in these first 2 excellent episodes that we had behind us. So thank you guys very much for helping to make this season such a success. Be sure to go back and check out the replays of our interviews with Garrett Robinson and Mike DeFrench if you haven't seen them already. They both turned out to be fantastic guests. If you are new to this channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Adrian Santiago. I am a author and YouTube content creator on here. Let me get my visuals up. Welcome. Excuse me. As I said, I am Adrian Santiago. My debut novel, Mythic, Shadow of the Spark, comes out later this year. Hopefully, if I make my deadlines, fingers crossed. It's in the final stages of editing now. And we'll be releasing soon. It's a murder mystery set in a sci-fi fantasy world with an ensemble cast of BIPOC and LGBTQ characters in lead roles. So if any of this sounds like something that you would like to read someday and support and everything, then go over to my website, sign up for my newsletter, booksbyadrian.com. The link is on your screen and in the description down below as well. I'll be announcing the release, doing the cover reveal through the newsletter, all that good stuff. So go ahead and check that out. So we have got an excellent show for you today. Our guest today is Lauren Sefchik, and I double checked how to pronounce her last name. She says it in her TikToks. If you have any questions for Ms Sefchik, label them with a Q and a colon, letting me know that it is a question for Lauren Sefchik, and I will set that aside in the chat and get back to it at the end of the show during our live chat Q&A. Speaking of which, welcome to our chat. I am going to say hello to you guys a little more individually once we have Lauren out here with us. But first, the growing in popularity, if only in my mind, new segment of the series. That I'm sure that lagged. I'm going to try it one more time. All right, I'm feeling a lot better about that one. I don't know about you guys. This week in AuthorTube is What We Doing. So let's see here. First, I'm going to remove that, and we're going to add this to the stream here, and we're going to go with one of these because our first story comes from Kate Kavanaugh, who writes brings us a video. Kate Kavanaugh Writes is the name of the channel. Who writes us a video about unlearning toxic productivity, which I found to be a very interesting topic. At first, it made my teeth hurt because how can productivity be toxic? And then when I regained consciousness, I realized that she goes on to specify that she's been unwell and needed to rest to recover and all that kind of good stuff. Of course, mental and physical health all the way. So that's when I felt like the asshole. But so big ups to Kate Kavanaugh for taking me on such an emotional roller coaster with only the title of her video. Not an easy thing to pull off. That was Kate Kavanaugh. Next up, we have Tim R.G., who talks about knowledge not equaling skill in his latest video. Another very interesting topic, putting his 2 cents into the conversation about the whole AuthorTubers giving writing advice conversation. Nothing better than a dude that can make a reference to pros versus Joes with a straight face. So got nothing but respect for you, Tim. You're killing it, bro. Keep it up. Next up, we have something a little different. We have Mason in the Dark. Mason in the Dark brings us a reading of his latest installment in the Bleeding Ground universe called A Knife's Edge. The Bleeding Ground is an episodic AuthorTube original series, and A Knife's Edge is the 5th episode, the latest one. Check out the full playlist. It will be linked down below after the stream. And check it out if you like dark tales, good versus evil, tragedy, revenge, scheming, plots, macabre intentions, stuff like that. Sounds awesome. Special mention to AuthorTube Newbie Tag, which saw a lot of excitement this week. New AuthorTubers returning from a long hiatus, and creators shaking things up on their channels. So be sure to check them all out. That's the AuthorTube Newbie Tag. We do have one last one. We have Michelle Schusterman, who did a whole video about the whole Barnes & Noble Silent on middle grade debacle. It's very informative. Check it out. Lots of good stuff in there. All right, folks. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. Lauren Sefchik is going to be out here next, right after I do one of these. All right, so our guest today is the author of Key of Arcandus, which is book 1 of the Carving Legacies series. 3 mages need her, a warlock is using her, the goddess of death is hiding her, and, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Saroon's story is only the beginning. I'm ready for it. Let's go. Please welcome the great, the powerful, and very, very welcome, Lauren Sefchik. Welcome to Livestream Sunday. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hello. I am good. I am very, very good. Thank you. I am especially happy that my Wi-Fi is doing so well today.
Yes, it looks like it's very smooth. I'm very happy for you.
I checked the speed right before going on, and I was like, yes. I looked outside and I saw clouds, and I was like, so we'll see. We'll see what
It's okay.
happens.
If I must entertain the chat, so be it.
I'm sure that we'll be just fine if you do. Ms Sefchik, go ahead and take the floor and tell everybody out there who you are, where you're from, and what you're currently working on.
Hi, my name is Lauren Sefchik. I'm the author of Carving Legacies, which is the first installment. The author of Key of Arcandus, first installment of Carving Legacies. I'm really on it this morning already. And I'm from Arizona. Not born here, but pretty much raised here since the beginning. My blood is as thin as Gatorade at this point. And I do all sorts of fun stuff in the fantasy realm. And for right now, Key of Arcandus is the debut book, but I have a lot that's in the works that will be coming out over time. So stick with me. It's going to be fun.
Fantastic. Well, we're very, very happy to have you here. I can't wait to talk to you about all of that stuff. I want to say hello to the chat with you real quick because there are going to be people for both of us in there today. Already from the first one who in the door, I'm guessing this is one of yours, Penelope Windsor.
Yes, I know Penelope. Hello.
I have not seen her around these parts. So very, very welcome to Penelope. Adam, that's one of mine. What's up, buddy? Catherine is here. Catherine Wisely. Papa Sauce, yo, what up? Indeed.
Nice.
Shannon, Miss SD Houston, welcome. Thank you guys all for being here. Amy's here. Amy Rosenfeld, hello. All right. Yeah, nice to see you here. Richard, Ricardo is here. Yeah, it's Sunday again, bro. The week flies by, man. Flies by. Amelia, hello. Welcome. And I believe that's Jennifer Brown snuck in on me. Hello. Hello. All right. I believe that's every unique person in the chat. Hi, guys. Welcome. Label your questions for Ms Sefchik with a Q and a colon, and I will find them and ask her all those questions towards the end of this show. Lauren, am I saying the last name correctly, by the way?
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of interesting because my surname is it's Polish, but when it came through into the States, they like culled it down to the very bare necessities. So yeah, it's just Sefchik, and people love to add letters back into it when they're pronouncing it.
Sefchik.
Yeah, like I've heard all different types of renditions. I'm like, no, they simplified it. It's very, very straightforward.
Yeah, I broke it down to syllables, and I'm like, I got this. This is fine. This is easy. I can do this. All right. Well, how long have you been writing stories, and at what point did you turn pro and start publishing?
Well, I've always been a writer since I was a child, essentially. Like I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. But it took a long time before I finally said, okay, I got to knuckle down and get this done if I want to actually publish something. Because like when you grow up and you're going through life, you're like, okay, well, I'll write the book once I graduate. Okay, I'll write the book once I get a job. Okay, I'll write the book when I have enough money. Okay, I'll write the book, It was just one of those things. So in 2018, I was just like having one of those old people crisis. And I was just like, I still haven't published any of my books yet. And I'm like, 10 years into, the carving legacies world at this point. And I'm just like, okay, I just need to knuckle down and get this done. Like there's no more waiting anymore. So, advice to everyone out there, the little bit of advice that I give, just don't wait. Like if you want to do it, just do it. You'll find a way to overcome the hurdles.
For sure. Yeah, man, just dive in. I agree. I spent so many years just turning my wheels and nothing really happening. And finally, it just takes the decision to do it. It's like, just get it done. Just get it done.
It was actually my New Year's resolution was get the project plan for publication out and ready and start doing the plan. Like it was actually a realistic New Year's resolution that I actually accomplished. It took 2 years, but I did accomplish it. So that,
Hey, a victory is a victory, no matter how long it took, for sure.
Right.
Okay, so Key of Arcandus, tell us about it. Those of us in the chat that aren't familiar with you and your world, give us the elevator pitch for Key of Arcandus.
It's basically about a bookish protagonist that goes on a cross-continental manhunt with 3 mages and a journey of self-discovery along the way, if I had to consolidate it down to the nitty-gritty. And her story is just the first in 3 main characters that will show up throughout the entire series. And Carving Legacies in general is kind of just the kickoff series to the world that I've built and the story of that world that I want to tell. So, basically the overall game plan is what happens to mortals when a world's deities are going through a regime change, A lot of stuff goes down, and sometimes you have to fight fire with fire when you don't understand what's going on, and bad stuff keeps cropping up in certain areas. So, yep.
Right on. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Now I saw in one of your TikTok videos that there's a whole tabletop game set up to your world, including the magic system. Run us through that. What's going on there? I know that you have gaming in your descriptions of yourself. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, so I actually got my major in game design, but unfortunately, the industry crashed around the time that I graduated. And then several years after that, the global economy crashed. So eventually, I basically joke that I got a very expensive diploma that I can make a very expensive origami paper crane out of. But, I use the skills learned to, do different graphic art. I'm very big on play-by-post role-playing groups, so I write all the time, even when I'm not writing books. Like the RPG play-by-post groups are kind of like how I honed my craft of creating characters that end up going into the books. Like I end up getting the chance to test run those and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm digressing. Basically,
digress all you want. We have like an hour and 15 minutes to kill.
So when I first built the Carving Legacy series, it ended up becoming kind of like along the way, like, okay, it's been several years after my game design degree, situation. I didn't want to go into video games anymore because the industry was kind of, well, it still is amok in more ways than one. But I wanted to kind of like maybe go into like the tabletop publishing companies in some way. And so I started building the World of Clane as a tabletop game. And so I do have the player's handbook. I basically have the entire foundation. It's already been through like a beta test in the past. I just have to add all what I call the leaves to the tree and the branches, so to speak. So, all the individualized skills, all the balancing of numbers and all that other stuff. And when I got to that point, I kind of went, this part's not fun for me.
That's where it becomes work. Yeah.
I was like, that's a lot of mathing, and I don't like to math. So I kind of dropped it, and I was creating like campaign arcs and storylines and things like that, so that way when I had the player's handbook, I could then eventually publish a campaign type of handbook, to pick up. Well, when I decided to drop the tabletop project, or at least put it on indefinite ice for the time being, I just decided to take the campaign concepts and actually turn them into full-fledged novels and stories. And so, I had something for Sarone, I had something for Leoness, and then later on, there's going to be one. Her name is Aria that's going to show up, and she's kind of like a fresh out of the box, put together kind of plan during the 10 years of daydreaming and long work commutes. So.
I know what that's like. Yeah, the characters that live in your brain for a couple of years until you finally put them to page.
Absolutely. So
I've got a couple of those of my own. Sure.
So yeah, while I'm writing the books and stuff like that, I still have like all the 21 different classes, all the different specializations. Like I reference the handbook as kind of like okay, as I'm writing through these magic systems, am I staying on point to when I do eventually go back to the tabletop game to hopefully self-publish that? Is it going to match, or, am I going to have to make tweaks? Basically, as far as the magic system and my approach to it, it's kind of a combination of like your Dungeons and Dragons Pathfinder mixed with the method and mannerism of World of Warcraft's class and spec breakdowns. So you have each different caster class has a different thought process and a different style of casting their magic. And with that comes different forms of repercussions. Like, with mages, they use arithmancy as their basic caster class. That was inspired from Final Fantasy Tactics, the Arithmancer class. And so they literally use their life force to rip an element into a physical, spell so that they can use it. And so you have things like components like saying the spell aloud in full, using different components to kind of help mitigate the hyper aging process on a mage's body as a result. And if a mage goes too far, then they go into this hemophaether state, which you start bleeding from everywhere and give yourself a magical aneurysm, basically. So like, and so I go down different types of every class has its own like system and methodology. And so with Key of Arcandus, the first book mainly focuses on mages and the warlocks and how all that breaks down. So my TikTok video is way more concise because with TikTok videos, like I ramble a lot. So I'm able to just like memorize line by line and then record that exact line and then move on to the next point so that I can keep all this information packed into just barely 3 minutes.
Yeah. I was gonna say you gotta like basically scrunch it down to. I'm gonna put a poll in the chat for people's favorite magic systems because we've got the softer magic systems, the more hard and detailed magic systems, and then from what I can tell, there's the third option is this sort of RPG mode, which. Let's see what everybody thinks. I'm gonna throw that in there. All right. That's awesome. You know, the idea that this thing exists in sort of like a balance of two different uh, uh, formats between the novel and being a game, essentially. You know what I mean? Um, that's wild. That's crazy. What where did that kind of come from for you, do you think? Like was it a game idea first? Was it a book idea first? How did this idea for this melding of these two formats kind of come together?
I think it was just it's kind of a mixed medley of all sorts of influences over the years. And it comes from gaming, it comes from anime, it comes from, like, I mean, I've been gaming since I was a kid. Like, I had for a little while, it started with the Atari 2600, moved on to Nintendo and all that other jazz, and then I was into the anime world back when, to access anything anime related, you went to your local comic store and you just prayed that they shipped something in from Japan, and whatever you could find, you got. You would end up having to like buy fan sub VHS tapes from some random online website when you were still dialing into the internet at the time. So we're talking like
getting like Vietnam flashbacks.
my geek credentials run deep and they run long. Yeah. And so over the years, when you play all the JRPGs and when you're in the anime scene, especially during the 90s, when just so much stuff from all different walks of life, as far as what all these anime studios were putting out for stories, how they were pushing still the hand drawn and painted animation, but then sometimes they would mix in these new mediums of the CGI was like just starting to become a thing. It was literally like a decade of just all sorts of experimentation, both story, tech, art, everything. Plus, Japanese gaming was becoming a big thing, even though it was still kind of like a very niche subculture and stuff like that. I literally just draw inspiration from all those different angles. And so it was, since I was in game design during college, like, you have all of these ideas that you want to do once you get out so that you can start producing your own material. And so it was kind of like a tabletop first, but stories kind of built in alongside with it. And the idea to just flip it to just writing the novels as stories was just kind of like a situation where I was like, this is kind of where I always wanted to go when I was a kid anyways. I always wanted to write books. And so why not just go with my natural inclination that doesn't require math?
Again, avoidance of all things math. I'm all for. I am right there with you. I shudder at the thought of like constant math. No, thank you. Quick side here, giving some love to your book cover. Tell us about the book cover. Who did it? How did you? This is a dope cover. I really, really dig it.
Yeah, it was a combination of, so it was, I hired Demonza, and they're a cover designer from out of New Zealand, I believe. And they also did the interior formatting. And so going in, I already knew, because like when you're doing self-publishing, everything is, when you're hiring third parties, they want you to tell them everything. Like, you are steering us, you are driving this ship. We're just putting together, the more information we capture, the more accurate we can get the pictures. So going into the cover, I already made a decision. I never want to do like character designs in front of the cover, because all the races are kind of, I'm not going to pitch like unique. I'm just saying that they're just different, and that I didn't want to, first off, I did not want to force any particular preconceived image on a reader. I want them to kind of conjure stuff in their head of their own accord. I want them to picture the characters the way they want to see them, either themselves or others in that. And so no character covers. And then, since it's Key of Arcandus, the main artifact in the story is the Cinnifine Bible. And so it's kind of like this creepy artifact, this spellbook artifact. And I kind of got it inspired, and it inspired me from the Claire Bible in an anime called The Slayers. So in the Slayers next series, they're kind of chasing after this powerful artifact called the Claire Bible. So similar concept. I want to give it like that creepy look that looks like those medieval Renaissance Bibles that have like all that intricate look on the front of them. And so, and each main character has a different color theme with them. So Cerrone is a combination of silver, black is her magic, and purple. So those were the color combinations I gave. No character art. I want it to look like this medieval / Renaissance Bible-y, artifact tome itself. And so I gave them like 25 different images for references. And then I wanted the font style to be the art piece of the center. So, and that's what that's like literally the first design that came right out the gate from them. And I was like, that's what I want.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because it screams all the things that you needed to for somebody to pick that up and know what they're getting into. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We had Richard throw the question of glossy or matte, but somebody already answered it for you, that it's a matte cover. Is that right?
Oh, yes. Penelope knows all the details.
She's on it.
She's actually one of my alpha and beta readers, and so she's been going through. I know she's alphaing Obligations Unity right now, so that's the second book. That manuscript's already written. Book 3's manuscript is already written. It's just it'll go into the editing, beta phasing for next year. So, right on. We have nostalgia running through the chat right now. Everybody's thinking about the 90s and floppy disks and good. Those are the good days for me.
You've got everybody reminiscing. Right on. So let me throw up the next one here. What were some of the challenges that you can tell us during the writing of Key of Arcandus? Maybe challenges you weren't expecting necessarily.
Well, since it's my debut book, it's whenever you go through your debut or your first book process, I think the challenge is learning what your process is, figuring out all the steps as you go. Every move you make, every milestone you achieve is always a brand new thing that you've never done before. So learning to give yourself leeway for forgiveness of making mistakes along the way is part of that learning process. For Key of Arcandus specifically, getting the first draft done took 6 years. It took me 6 years to get through the first 40%, and then it took me 2 months to get through the latter 60. And that's because I learned I am not a pantser by any stretch of the imagination. I need a roadmap. I need a roadmap, even if it's just like this chapter, one sentence of this is the goal that this chapter needs to achieve. And I don't go into like extreme detail. So I know you favor the term gardener. For others, they'll know it as a planster. Someone who at least builds a roadmap, but gives them the flexibility to still, explore their way through that scene or that moment. It's just that it's important that each moment has a goal. There's a point and a reason why it's there in the story. And once I got, and of course that first 40%, where is it? It's in that wonderful middle area, the notorious quagmire where every author gets stuck and can't figure out how to get through the middle part.
That goddamn middle. It's the biggest pain in the ass, like by far, is that goddamn middle.
The bane of our existence. And so I found out that by just giving myself a roadmap of just, even if it's of the bare bone minimum, at least I know that when I sit down and I'm like, what am I writing today? I am writing this chapter. Okay, what is the goal? This is the goal. And then boom, done. I get down, I sit down, I just put it on words on paper. It can look pretty later. Don't worry about being perfect. And I just, go. Okay, moving on to the next piece.
Yeah. I'm very similar. My outline can vary in its detailedness. Some chapters I plan out very, very meticulously, and others are just a one sentence. This is what happens in that chapter. And when it comes time to write that chapter, I'll take a minute to turn that one sentence into some story beats and be like, okay, well, the chapter needs to hit all of these story beats to get through to that one sentence. And then I go, and so that's where the gardener part comes in, where I'm just kind of writing, even though I know what my goal for the writing is. I'm just making it up as I go in that chapter. The
chapters, usually the chapter outline maps or beats that I have that are bigger are usually because they're either like the climax chapter or it's like a battle scene, and I need to roadmap how this fight is going to go down beat for beat within that chapter. And it's very specific, especially since I use music as a roadmap to plan out certain scenes and stuff like that. So there are some bullet point areas that are bigger than others, but for the most part I stick to like single sentences on my outlines.
Nice. There's some music related questions in the chat later on for the live chat Q&A, so I'm happy to hear you say that. That's gonna feed nicely.
Nice.
Stay tuned for more.
Awesome.
All right. What is your favorite part of the process? Conversely to the biggest challenge, your favorite part of creating this book and putting it out in the world?
Honestly, one of my favorite parts, besides writing it, is the feedback process. I like putting it out and having people read it and then give me like, oh, this works. Oh, this doesn't work. Oh, what the heck are you thinking at this point? Like, I find enjoyment in that. Like, I guess I'm one of those sadistic individuals where it's like when my manuscript comes back covered in red, that just actually makes me giddy. It doesn't make me scared.
We're kindred spirits, you and I.
Because, I'm writing something from a perspective of my own, or I'm in the mode and, I will go through it, and there's only so many times you can go through a manuscript and you just hit that plateau. And it's kind of like, okay, Buddha, take the wheel. I have no idea where. I know something is off. I know there's something or some other way where I can push it further or push it better. But I have no idea. Like I'm strapped, I'm tapped for ideas. And so having alpha and beta readers come in and go, okay, that works. Okay, this does not work. And here's why I don't like it. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Now I know why I had this odd feeling over here, but couldn't put it to words. It's like, it's having like these mini epiphanies as I'm going through the feedback. And I just, I love it. Data.
So many, you that made me laugh and I completely forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We were talking about the feedback process. I'm trying to remember the what I was going to say now, and I remember that I'm coming at it always from a wanting to make it better. And I learned a long time ago that you learn something new from every person you meet. Everybody you meet knows something you don't know. Mm-hmm. Whether it's something you want to know or not is a different story. But they know something you don't know, and so it's always an opportunity to learn something new. And so that must then therefore be true for authors as well. Every author you speak to or run your stuff through is going to teach you something new. Same thing with every reader. They're going to teach you something new. And so when it comes back covered in all that red, I'm like you, I get excited because it's just opportunities to make it better, to learn something about writing that I didn't know before, and put out an even better book than it already was. And
absolutely.
That's the goal, right?
Yep.
Put out good books. For sure.
I just want to tell a good story. In the end, I just want to tell a good story.
Now, I was going through your website, which led me to your blog, which led me to abandoning YouTube for TikTok.
Oh.
And that whole thing. And, I feel you. Before you get into it, I feel you because I'm there too. I mean, I've just recently hit 300 on here. I've been at it for a few years now. And I thought that I would have hit that goal a while ago. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm super excited to be there, but I know what I'm up against now on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I get it. It's hard over here. Meanwhile, I've been on TikTok for a couple of months and I'm a few follows away from 600. So I'm like, how does not compute? It doesn't add up. So what was your experience like switching over from AuthorTube to TikTok? Is there still room for AuthorTube in your future? How's that going?
It really just depends. This was actually my second attempt at creating a YouTube channel, and I just ran into all the same return on investment, time sink situations this time around as I did the first time around. I do enjoy making videos, but it's not like something I enjoy, and really making videos for YouTube and things like that has got to be something like it becomes kind of a full-time passion. And in the end, I just did not have that. Like I was spending all day editing a video and it gets like no traction, no views, no nothing. And it's like, okay, well, that was like 2 to 3 days between, video, recording, scripting, editing, all that other stuff, only to have like nothing come back in return. Meanwhile, over on TikTok, I can just, spit out a quick concept, do something, real off the cuff. It, the phone has all the like very, has a very robust set of editing, abilities and features that I don't have to pay extra for like licenses, software licenses and things like that. And since the book community is like huge over there, like far bigger than I anticipated, it just seems like it's easier to get a lot more traction, and it's more my speed as far as the time investment and the time sink that I wanted to get involved with it. I mean, especially with YouTube going through the, we knew YouTube before it was a thing, like back when it looked totally bare bones, like a HTML GeoCities website level of we remember when, and it was always about like smaller creators. And now that it's basically become a media conglomerate to some degree, that's essentially where they're focusing on. And I get it. There's still room for smaller creators and stuff like that. But it's just the amount of passion and commitment you have to have for that platform specifically far exceeded my passion and my willing to commit to it. So I'm not saying it's not for everyone. I'm just saying it's not for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that for sure. And you're right. It's so versatile over there on TikTok. You can do so much with so little, and you can reach so many more people. When my book comes out and it comes time to market it and to sell it, I foresee selling way more through there than through, say, Instagram or YouTube or anything like that. So
yeah. And I've actually been able to, now that it's been like 90 days plus since I've been part of TikTok and stuff like that, I'm actually starting to see the fruits, because Ingram Spark doesn't give you the invoice of final sales till 3 months later. So I'm starting to see the beginning of when I first got onto TikTok. And while it's not like massive, it has significantly dwarfed by already right out the gate my purchase results compared to Instagram and Twitter combined. So will the algorithms change on TikTok? Well, every algorithm on every platform changes. For right now, TikTok is working. TikTok's a lot of fun for me, and therefore that's what I'll probably invest more of my platform time into until something else either comes along or, the winds shift yet again and I have to move somewhere else for a viable outlet or resource. So
Sure. Yeah. It's a fickle thing, the internet, isn't it?
I don't need, like I said, algorithms equal math. Math is too much for me. No, thank you. I'll just do whatever.
I do words, not math.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this brings us to what I wish was going to be a new ongoing segment on here, but because it's a title you came up with, I can't do that. It's just a segment for your episode.
Oh, really?
Writing, gaming, and a lot of mead. I freaking love that. So here's the deal. We're going to share what we're currently writing, what we're currently gaming, and what we're currently drinking. What do you got over there, drink wise?
It's called Sky River. Only because I'm out of Superstition Mead, and Superstition Mead's my absolute fave. It's over in, I think it's located in Prescott in Arizona, and it's like the bomb mead that I've ever had in my entire life. If you can get your hands on a bottle, it's totally worth it. But this is Sky River. It's a sweet mead, and it's actually a base that I'm playing around with because there is a liqueur drink in my book called a Seda Sonata. And it's a combination of it's a mead base with nectarine, cherry, and a hint of elderflower. And then it has a shimmering effect. So I actually bought all the ingredients to try to make a mixed drink with it. And I have yet to perfect the combination. But once I do, then there's going to be a TikTok video about it.
Right on. So what was the last thing that you were writing and the last thing that you were gaming?
Currently, I just finished in July. Yes, July. I just finished writing the manuscript for book 3. And then right now I am currently writing the standalone fantasy romance novel tentatively called An Oath to the Winter Winds. For those who read Key of Arcandus, there's 2 support characters that come up later in part 3 of the book, Sebastian and Neve. And this is kind of like some events go on in Key of Arcandus. I can't say what because it kind of gives a spoiler away. But basically, it's their journey in regards to this specific event that they're trying to overcome, and in the process, like you get some nice sweet cinnamon roll romance along the way, and I'm in the throes of that right now.
Nice. And game. Oh, okay. That was what you were writing.
That was what I was writing.
Okay. So what are you gaming? So what
am I gaming? Well, I can't wait for next week because next week on the Switch, I'm getting Potion Permit, which is kind of like a Stardew Valley for alchemy or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But right now, I'm actually playing an indie game called oh geez, hold on, let me pull it up. I think it's Wintermore Tactics Club. And it's a little indie game that is about a TTRPG club who are forced by the principal. All the clubs in the school are forced to do an elimination style snowball fight. And if you lose or you decide not to participate, your club gets disbanded. And so it's kind of like a game where you're going through and learning about overcoming, like high school social interpersonal challenges and using TTRPG as a way of overcoming adversity and those challenges and learning more about themselves as the characters along the way. Really super cool. Highly recommend it. It's a very relaxing type of game, but I have a lot of fun with it. I'm really enjoying it.
Very cool. Very cool. We've got the results of the poll on Magic Systems. Let's see. 40% hard Magic, 30% RPG, 30%. Oh, no, excuse me. I misread that. Soft is 40%. Hard is 30 and RPG is 30. Nice.
So everyone's kind of balanced out. That's a real close race right there.
I dig it.
Usually in previous polls that you've done, there's usually been like one that's like way ahead. Like your hair won the poll that one time by like 60% of the vote.
I felt bad about that. I wanted everybody to vote for him. I felt guilty. I was like, why did I do this? This was a horrible idea.
Yes, SD Huston, like that is balanced. And it's the gaming theme is balancing the game.
Indeed. Finding common ground. That's what we're looking for here. All right. So we're gonna one last question before we switch gears here. Mm-hmm. And that is marketing. So what have you learned about marketing a book that you'll be focusing more on for the next release?
Well, I think now that I have already a book out, doing marketing much more ahead of time and actually having a better schedule. When I first, the thing is that Key of Arcandus was supposed to come out in May of the year of our lockdown. And then a bunch of different things happened between the original cover company that I had hired vanished off the face of the planet. Like they took everyone's money and ran. And luckily, I paid them with my American Express card, and Amex went and handled everything for me. All I had to do is provide them all the evidence, and they said, "Fine, we're on it." So,
nice.
always shouting accolades to that company.
I was lucky.
Yeah. So on top of that, and then my website server provider was like changing up all of their pricing programs, which ended up forcing me to have to find another provider. Like all these things happened like February, March before I was supposed to like launch. And so basically chaos reigned supreme that year in all forms and functions. And so trying to plan marketing strategies ahead of time basically got blown out the window. I was also doing a lot of research on marketing back in 2018. And by the time 2020 rolled around, all of those marketing strategies just went out the window. Like the landscape of BookTube in general had completely changed. Like no one was doing like straight up book reviews anymore. The way they were before, like at least not as heavily. Everything was all about TBR lists, wrap-ups, quick hauls, that kind of stuff. So everything in bulk and in mass. And those who were doing formal reviews at that point had basically, you know, most of the booktubers that I had encountered, and I was like researching like 500 different ones. You know, you get some that just disappear entirely, other people that just change gears on their channel. So by the time 2 years rolls around, like pretty much 80% of the data I'd collected became obsolete. So, you know, so it was one of those things where going forward on marketing, it's pretty much like, okay, well, at least I can plan maybe 3 months ahead of time. And I'll do more of my research like closer to that 3-month mark. So at least that whatever I plan to do, it's closer. The information and the data is more relevant to the timestamp of that year because, you know, I mean, look how much has changed between 2020 and now. Like even now, the whole landscape of book promotion and marketing has completely changed yet again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, doing any extensive research that goes beyond like 6 months to a year at that point becomes obsolete. You might as well just scrap it to the ground and try again.
Yeah, it's wild how like every couple of years something new like just kind of takes over pop culture, and if you're not on it, you're not marketing. you gotta hop on like what's hot, you know.
Yep.
And I've said it before that like a self-published author doesn't have one job. We have like 19 different jobs that we have to like keep up all the time. So yeah, in the spirit of learning a little something from everybody, that's it's very helpful. Yeah.
The landscape changes so fast.
Oh, man, it's wild. It's bananas. Okay, so let's switch gears here for a sec to all right. Comment of the week. I've got it here. It comes from our good friend Mr. Ben Pick, who was commenting on last week's episode. And he said, wow, our writing process, actually, this is of Typewriters Podcast, actually. Our writing processes are entirely different. I aim to get whatever I can down in the first draft and then refine it later. Whereas Mike was talking about how he if he has to edit something, he'd rather just rewrite the entire thing. He doesn't edit it, he just rewrites it. I find it much easier to sculpt what's written than to write something new. And again, that was Ben Pick. If you want to be comment of the week, leave a comment on any one of my videos. And I tend to just pick one that I like. And I like that one. Comment of the week. Yay. All righty. Let's finally get to the live chat Q&A. All right. Who's going to go first? Who's going first?
Punky. I saw Punky. Hi, Punky.
Me. I won. I'm going to go with Punky because that's ridiculous. How can I be the winner of my own? This is nonsense.
Punky is my girl.
Punky it is. All right. Boom. What is your planning method? Like in the crazy sticky note. I'm the crazy sticky note lady.
Oh, okay, so the planning method starts off with me just listening to music playlists like crazy and like creating music videos in my head. And then it kind of helps me sculpt the overall flow of the story, of what kind of story I want to tell, and kind of the major plot beats. And then from there, I'm just literally taking just like a Microsoft Word sheet and then just going line by line. Chapter 1 starts here, chapter 2 starts there. And then sometimes, like, you know, I'll add or subtract accordingly, but yes. But yeah, it's literally just listen to music, just daydream for months on end, or for as long as time it takes, and then just once I finally get the whole camera shot in my head, then I just go down and just outline it real quick.
How do you deal with fear as a writer?
I that is a good question.
Yeah, Adam is good with the questions like that.
I don't think it's fear so much as, I mean, I don't fear writing at any point. I fear marketing more than anything else. Just because, like, okay, I've written this book and I'm just like, especially since me, like, I am the INTJ mindset, where it's just like, don't talk to me, don't pitch me anything, just leave me alone, don't bother me, like, just put up your stuff, and if it's interesting to me, just let me of my own accord decide to read your book. So with that mindset in my own head as a consumer, I treat that the same way as a writer and author. And so I'm always hesitant in how much or how frequently, or, you know, how much to put myself out there. And I know I need to do that more. That's the real fear. That's where the actual fear resides. Like, as far as fear in writing, I have none. Like, it's just, I do what I want.
Writing is where you can be brave. You can just try whatever you want and just throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks.
Because I never want to turn a person off just by being like super forward with putting myself out there or trying to sell them something. I've been in sales before. I don't like that sales shark type vibe. I never want to give that out. So that's where the real fear is.
Yeah, I feel that too. That's part of it with me. I've been in sales before as well, and failed magnificently because I just don't have that personality trait in me. I can't.
Yeah.
You know. And so in transitioning into being a published author, like, you have to sell your book. Like, that's
it doesn't bode well for us, does it?
Like, we, you know. So you mentioned that the idea begins with music. Do you write with music, and if so, lyrics or no lyrics?
So my playlists for usually creating scenes in my head, a lot of them do have lyrics, but a lot of them don't have lyrics too. I found out that epiccore is my favorite genre to listen to, and epiccore is all of your like epic movie scores, all of like these really, you know, non-lyrical, full instrumental, like really giving you vibes kind of thing. So like Marcus Warner, Antique Martican, Two Steps from Hell is another really great composer group, you know, just that type of vibe. And you know, but there's a lot of, as far as like getting the nitty gritty for like characters, I do listen to all sorts of musical songs with lyrics and stuff like that. When I'm writing, however, it's usually either silence, because I get distracted very easily, or if I'm writing a very specific scene that requires a very specific set of emotions to constantly be locked into, I'll play that one non-lyrical song over on repeat, so that way, as I'm writing through the scene, that music is helping to fuel the vibe so that I stay in that emotional element throughout the moment, so to speak.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Let's see. You need to take 3 heroes with you into an epic battle. You can pick anyone from any form of entertainment. Who do you choose and why? Your 3 heroes in epic battle.
Sailor Moon for number 1, because
that was unrelated.
You okay? You gonna be okay there? Okay. Went down the wrong windpipe.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, when you have the power of the cosmos in your hand and you can basically make everyone on your planet immortal later on, and you can purge anything from anywhere, if you have enough hope and love in your heart, like, come on. I mean, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, she's kind of OP.
So Sailor Moon from that angle. Oh gosh, who else would I take with me as a hero? I'm going to show my
Almost
recent
died on a live stream.
Right? I am going to take my absolute new favorite love for the Umbrella Academy and say number 5.
Nice.
Because I just the sass on that character and the abilities and everything else in between.
It's a good one.
Penelope's like, Khadgar? I'm like, no, probably not Khadgar, as much as I do love him. Then so Sailor Moon 5, and then what the heck? Let's go with Lena Inverse, because if we want to go with more firepower on us, then we've got white magic on Sailor Moon, we've got black magic on Lena Inverse, and then we have 5 doing the time hops. And he'll just yell at us along the way. So those will be my 3 picks.
Not bad, not bad. I'm collecting some more questions that they threw into the chat, so I'm excited to see those coming up here. Now let's see. We got Richard following on Punky Dumpling with a planning question. Tell us about your workflow. Is there a role for spreadsheets?
The spreadsheets come in during the feedback process.
There you go.
That's how I keep track of where everyone is.
That's acceptable. That's an acceptable answer. I want to tell you.
Yeah.
It is acceptable to use it during feedback. It is not acceptable to use it during writing, Richard.
Oh, so that's where this fight is coming from.
Yes, he writes he like does everything in spreadsheets. Bro, just write the book. You don't need spreadsheets. You're wasting time on spreadsheets. All right, go ahead.
But I use spreadsheets mainly for when the feedback data comes in, because it's how I keep track of where everyone is reading wise. It's how I keep track of the feedback from chapter by chapter, because I take everyone's feedback, I sort it and I organize it. And so all the individual tabs for everything helps me. And then of course I will, I have all my alpha readers add a numerical value to each chapter as far as interest level is concerned. So then that way I can take everything and then calculate out the medium score on that one. That way I can just see as an overview which chapters are weaker, which chapters I can, for the most part, leave alone, give or take the technical writing edits to it and things like that.
Adam was really happy with your answer.
I do use spreadsheets, just not at the writing stage. It's more of the editing feedback stage.
Well, the spreadsheet god agrees with your use of spreadsheets.
Awesome.
He approves. Planning and plotting. Good grief. Planning and plotting. All right. All right, Richard. You do you. Amy asks, favorite chapter in Key of Arcandus? Spoiler free if you want to talk about why.
Let's see. I have to say that other than the chapters that would cause spoilers along the way as far as emotional roller coasters, I think my favorite chapter is when Sarone and Ziki are at the Hive and the two kind of go out on a girls' play date kind of thing, and they kind of get to know one another and they bond a lot more in that area. And you really get to see the underground pansexual party vibe that's going on in that world. There's like an underground like roller rink kind of thing, that all these pipes that go throughout the entire Hive area, and it really just gives you this really cool vibe. It's a great environment, and just the bonding between those two girls at that point is just my favorite. So I kept it. I loved it.
Awesome. Is there a character you wish was in your story more?
Well, that is hard to say right now. There is a character that will be showing up again in the series. And that will hopefully make people who are mad at me less mad at me. Again, so many spoilers.
I can put 2 and 2 together. I know what's going on there.
Yeah. Right now, it's kind of one of those things where Key of Arcandus is laying so much groundwork on what you're going to see in the future, because the three main characters have stories where the times overlap one another. So Key of Arcandus actually has quite a few cameos from just, you'll hear random names be thrown out. There'll be like one-shot situations where a character is there. It's got, they've got a name, and you're not really sure why this chapter is here or why this character is here. Well, they're here for a reason, because you're going to see them later. For example, there is a scene where, Cerrone and crew show up in Isil Martin in the kingdom, and they make an audience. Well, there's someone already there having an audience with the king. Well, that individual is the main character for book 2. And then there's other characters that show up. I'll give a spoiler hint. For example, the pop star that sings in the Hive for a very brief moment of time, that kind of has this Yuna from Final Fantasy X-2 opening transformation songs situation. They are a supporting character and part of the team in book 4. So like, Key of Arcandus has a ton of little Easter eggs that you're going to see show back up in other books in this series.
Right on. You're selling copies. Pan party, dude. I'm buying this book as soon as my payday rolls around.
Yeah, underground pansexual party. That's how I describe the Hive, because they're all really, really, like, I love the ski bot race. They're like my absolute favorite. I had so much fun crafting them.
I love it, man. That's what we're here to do, to sell some books. Is there a favorite TikTok of yours that you have posted?
Let's see. A favorite TikTok of mine that I've posted. I would have to say that when I first joined TikTok, like when you have no algorithmic information, but it just knows that you like books, smut talk shows up in droves. Like, it comes to play.
Yeah, that's first through the door.
And so about 3 weeks in, when I was getting nothing but romance and smut readers, and keep in mind, I love me reading smut, like, I'm for it, okay? But the thing is that when I'm trying to build an audience of people that will buy my book,
you want a little diversity in there. You want more than just the smut readers. Yeah,
there's people that read fantasy romance, but my book doesn't focus on that. And so they, like, a lot of people that I was adding as friends, and that I love their content, and they're great, but they're not the type of audience that I'm trying to reach out to. So I did this call out video going, guys, can I get a little bit of help here? Because I don't know, like, I'm new. I don't know where I should be looking, how I should be looking, where I should be going with this. And it was like I had blown the horn of Gondor, and everyone and their brother came to play. I ended up that day getting the 1,000 followers. And I didn't even know that going live was a lock under 1,000 followers. Like, I'm very blessed. Let's just put it that way. I'm very blessed that I was able to get to that level real quickly. I mean, obviously it's been slow growth since then. So it evened out in the end. So now I gotta work. But man, that video was somehow like a blessing in disguise. And I was just honestly lost. Like, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can I get some help, please?
Always nice when the community backs you up, man.
Yes, it was very supportive, and I was very appreciative of it. And I still follow romance and smut authors and readers and stuff like that, because I love their stuff. Like, their content is great, especially when they duet thirst traps. I'm like, I'm all for this. Give me more.
Now, what is your favorite video game of all time?
Oh God, have to. Okay.
You gotta, yes.
I would have to say Final Fantasy Tactics is my absolute favorite. The original one. The one that came out broken. I loved the whole religious backstabbing. There's so much religious political intrigue going on, and they all look like little precious moments for character design. They look so innocent and cute, and then you don't really know who the actual big bad, like, you think you know who the big baddie is, but you don't find out until a twist comes in the story where you're like, oh, you're the jack off. You're the one orchestrating this whole thing. And then even though you have, like, the final boss fight isn't the actual, like, orchestrator of the whole event. You actually fight that individual like a few boss fights ahead of time, but the way they had woven everything together in this mass political battle, religious battle, it was just, I enjoyed every moment of it. I loved the characters. I loved how they wove the plot together. And honestly, a lot of the sequels that came out after that just did not hit on the same level. Second to that is Xenogears was my other favorite.
Very good. My boy just walked in. I don't know if you can hear him.
Yes.
And now he's being dragged out, kicking and screaming.
I'm actually shocked I'm not hearing my fur child sing me the song of her people yet.
Yeah.
She's just like, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like she's in pain outside sometimes when all she wants.
Torture.
Yeah, like absolute torture, as though I haven't fed her, haven't done anything, when all she wants is to sit in a lap. She wants you to get on the couch so that she can just sit in your lap. And that's what she makes the big stink for. She'll like go in an area with the best acoustics and just scream her head off.
Good old cats.
Yeah.
You don't know how much I love this because Richard is vehemently against being on TikTok. He's very paranoid about the Chinese. And for him to like be like, smut talk.
Yeah, you create an account and you get on there, and that's the fin. Do you like books? Here you go.
He said, shouldn't smut talk be tit talk? It's the best. Sometimes, Richard, you're okay. Sometimes you are okay. Let's see who we got next.
Amy. I feel that for Amy.
If you could have anyone read your book, who would it be and why?
Honestly, there's a ton of really great TikTok narrators that, like, if I had the ability to afford an audio narrator of any kind, Paige has been like, she's been so generous with me. She's been trying to get me on the Femme audiobook reading thing, and I ended up dropping the ball on my end because there's just been a lot going on these past few weeks. So, but she's been so generous and open and nice to me. And so I would say I would give her first shot if I were to ever be able to finance it. But as far as who I would voice for my villain Felthane, if I had my absolute greatest pick in the world, Jude Law. And because of Rise of the Guardians, Pitch Black, he is the best villain voice actor in human history, and I will fight everyone on that.
I can get into that. Jude Law. All right.
Yes.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. How many different genres of music do you think you listen to for writing?
Oh my gosh.
Music questions today. This is a good.
I swear, when they cultivated the genre, I think I was like hitting 500 different genres when they did, when Spotify does their like wrap up and stuff like that. Like I listened to over 5,000 different artists and over like 250 to 500 different genres. But because I just listened to everything and anything. I will have to say though, rap and country don't tend to make the circuit. There are obviously exception songs here and there, but for the most part, I listen to a ton of international stuff. Like I listen to everything from over the seas, K-pop being one of them. I know Penelope has her choices. I'm huge on KDA, even though I don't play any League of Legends whatsoever. Nice. I will watch those music videos all day long.
That's awesome. It's funny because, I always have to listen to music without any lyrics when I'm writing because I don't want to be distracted. But there are moments where I'm writing a scene and I'm like, the perfect music for this is like gangster rap or something like that, where like the whole point is the lyrics. So I'm just like, I can't listen to it when I'm writing. It'll distract me. So I started throwing on rap music and other genres of music in other languages. So I'll throw in like Indian rap. And I'm like, I can't understand a word they're saying. So eventually it just becomes wordless music. Kind of white noises
out.
Yeah. But I still get the whole like vibe that I'm going for. You know what I mean?
I love music in all different languages. I've always been like that. Like that's always been my thing, especially when you're into the anime thing. You're listening to, start off with J-pop, but even before that, like a lot of my friends group, even when I was a child, were from different areas. Like my best friend growing up was Vietnamese, and so her mom had a bunch of different music from there. Like I just love all sorts of music, and I don't always have to understand everything. I had a friend who went to Europe, brought me back, like back when you used to burn CDs and make mixtapes and stuff. Like she brought me a bunch of stuff from like Europe. So that had everything. I had German, I had French, I had, Spanish, I had Italian. I have somewhere in my playlist, I have a couple of like Arabic songs, and I've got like K-pop, I've got Icelandic music. You name it. There is a language of some kind in the playlist. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. I need to put more of that in there. Will you ever include a section in the back of your books that tells you how to pronounce names of people and places?
So yes, actually, and I did a TikTok on this recently, but the plan for future book installments now, there's actually several different things because I've been getting feedback from my alpha readers, and they've been making some good recommendations as well. So yes, I will be including pronunciation charts going forward, but I'll also be doing, and manga likes to do this a lot, is to do character recaps. So where, if I can, I might try to get an illustrator to do just like little headshots or something like that, but at the very least have the names and characters and just like a quick little blurb on, who they are, where they were in the last book, and if they show up, or at least, give reference and stuff like that. Obviously content warnings. Again, when I published Key of Arcandus back in 2020, I was not on social platforms at all. So I didn't know that content warnings had become a huge talking point at this point in the social discourse. And so I've done what I can to kind of like provide outlets on like my website and stuff like that for heads up. The only thing is that when you have third parties that did all of your formatting, I can't just like make an update, a tweak to it, and then just re-upload it to Ingram Spark because they charge for that, I think. And then on top of that, like I didn't format it, so I don't have the raw format for that. So it's not just a quick tweak for me. I would have to pay them again the full price to, update a format now that I'm like 2 years post. So going forward, better now that I'm part of TikTok, I'm part of the social media platform. I know I'm starting to get a better at, understanding of what consumers want. So better publication of the content warnings and stuff like that. Just things like that. More features will start going into book 2 and the rest of the series going forward. And then once I've published all 5, there may be plans, if I can afford it, to just republish the whole series with maybe new cover sets that are more homogenized so that all 5 of them are more uniform in what they've covered and how, new maps and stuff like that.
By the way, y'all, her books have gorgeous maps and are an easy read. Is that what you're saying? Are easy to read. Font size, go see one. Yeah. Singing your praises.
She is my biggest cheerleader. I love it. And I love her.
I love it. So this is an oddly specific question. The Hobbit or Fellowship of the Ring books only? Well, obviously, because if we were talking movies, that would be a very easy answer. But Hobbit or Fellowship of the Rings?
I have not read any of them.
Turn in your card, ma'am.
No, I will not.
Your fantasy writer card, right? No, of course not.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's kind
I'll answer for you. It's the Fellowship of the Ring all the way. But please go ahead.
Well, the thing is that one of these things I learned when I did my first alpha/beta reading phase, I found out that there's 2 types of readers and their subsequent writers to go along with it. There's 2 types. And that explains why certain types of authors are real popular with certain types of readers. There is the paint me the picture, give me everything. And there's the give me the gist, I'll fill out the rest on my own. Because of now, like the second portion are people like I'm very much a just give me the gist, because my brain fills in everything vividly. Like as I'm a slow reader, but that's because my brain is literally just creating everything. It's doing the camera shots, it's doing the scenes, it's playing everything out. Like I can hear the characters, the whole thing goes on. So if the author or the writer is getting bogged down in every little, like painting every little leaf on the tree, I'm like, pick it up, move it. I can't pay attention to this. So your George R.R. Martins, your Tolkiens, your Herman Melville, I can't believe an individual can make a book that tiny and still bore me to tears with description. Billy Budd is the worst. Like I don't get past the prologues on them. I try and I can't. I just can't handle the bulk over exposition of description. And
I feel that.
But there's people who have aphantasia, so they can't picture anything in their head. So they need that bulk description so that they have an idea of what they're reading. And then there are others that are very much, they want to submerge themselves in that scenery. They want every, tell me every sound, paint me every picture. And like I said, no shade to either type of reader or writer. It's just, that's why it works with some people. The trick as a writer is finding that balance, giving enough description to at least give those who want the full painting somewhat satisfied with what they're given so that they gotta have an idea of it. And then others that are just, that way I'm not bogging the others down too much in description to where they're just like, I'm bored, I'm out, give me an exit card. That's where the challenge as a writer is finding that happy medium.
I agree. I coming from a reader who loves reading the very hyper detailed books, but when I write the gist. And I have to go back later and kind of fill it in a little bit because I'm like, this is kind of a white room. Let me fill this up a little bit. So yeah, finding the balance. Definitely. Feel the same way with Tolkien. I've tried multiple times to get into the books, but I was so bored by them. It happens. It's not for everybody.
I mean, I love Lord of the Rings. And Peter Jackson did an amazing job at, transitioning. I'm another one of those people that don't do book is better than movie or vice versa. I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, whatever's the better story is the better story, period. Like, it's
or even still, like, for example, my favorite is I'm starting to read the Saxon Tales, which was adapted as The Last Kingdom. All right. So when I read book 1, it's very interesting because each season covers 2 books up to book 10. And so as I'm reading the books, I'm understanding the choices the producers were making on how they wanted to depict this information in the way they wanted to show it, because obviously when it comes to reading, you're going to get way more in depth because people don't understand that 1 page of screenwriting dialogue is equivalent to I think 5 minutes of screen time. So no, you can't have 700 pages in 1 movie because you would have more bathroom breaks and sleepovers than you knew what to do.
Yep.
So I can appreciate the decisions on both. So I am very appreciative of Peter Jackson's interpretation of Lord of the Rings because then it allowed someone like me who would love the story, and I do, to at least digest it in a more succinct manner that I don't have to slog my way through tons of words. So
I love those movies. They're some of my favorites. The extended editions are just masterpieces, and I'll throw them on anytime.
Absolutely.
For sure. Ms Sefchik, we are out of time.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, indeed. If you could please say goodbye to the people at home. Tell them where they can find you and what you have coming up next that they should be looking for.
Well, hopefully at the end of 2023 or beginning of 2024, I will have book 2 Obligations Unity out and published. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, my best location to find everything that you need is www.sefchik.com. It's basically my personal homepage. I've had the domain for years. And so if there's any changes to my social media platforms or anything like that, that is where, if something just disappears from Twitter or Instagram or whatever, just go to the website. The website has anything that changes. It's going to have any new announcements. But my TikTok account has been the biggest thing. So Ms Sefchik is my author talk account. I do have a backup account that's more book and geek related called Lahariels_bookshelf. Both accounts kind of bounce off one another. And then my Instagram, I don't really do much with it, but it's Lauren Sefchik. And then my Twitter account is Lauren_Sefchik. And that I'm moderately active on. So, but it's mostly TikTok nowadays, but that shifts around from here and there. But yeah, www.sefchik.com is where you can home base for everything.
Very, very good. All right. And I wanted to once an episode, Richard says something that makes me want to kick him out. Richard, get out. This is it for today.
Oh man, setting the tone on the way out, huh?
You made it to the end of the episode, so congratulations, but please get out. All right.
Pleasure to meet you, Richard.
If you guys enjoyed the interview with Ms Sefchik at all, please come back on Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel, 4 p.m. Eastern time for Typewriters Podcast, which she and I are going to go record now. So be back for that. There will be a premiere, and I'll be in the chat saying hi to everybody. Also, Sunday, next episode of Livestream Sunday brings us James Moore, author of Home. At least I think it's pronounced Home. It's one of the many questions we will ask him that day. All right, folks. Thank you so very much for being here, everybody in the chat. Ms Sefchik, thank you so much for being a guest. Stick around. We're going to do the next show. And for everybody else, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Right on, writers. We are out. As soon as I can get this thing up. There it is.